Okay, so let's take a look at global illumination and how that works here in Cinema 4D. Global illumination, or GI as it's commonly called, is the interaction of light between different objects within a scene. Simply said, light is reflected onto objects as it occurs in the real world. Light also reaches areas that normal light sources would not illuminate. So it's pretty simple what GI does. Although it sounds pretty simple, the actual process is quite complicated. When a scene is rendered using conventional sources of light, light is only emitted from a limited number of light sources, and that's the lights themselves. When GI is applied, pretty much any part of an object can reflect light. So the way that you enable global illumination is you come up here to the render settings, and you come over here to the effect, and you choose global illumination. And then you come up with a whole new series of options here. Okay, now I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to turn my global illumination off for a minute. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to drop a cube in the scene. I'm just going to make a big room. Maybe something like that. Make that a little wider. And I'm going to come in here. I'm going to convert that to an editable object. And maybe grab this first face and right click. I want you to be able to see this. So it kind of goes off the screen here. Try and grab that again. Well, we have split down here and we can hit P. You'll see that that's split. So now we have split this off over here. So we can delete the original one. Okay, so this is our new piece right here. We can turn this on and off. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to display. And I'm going to use the visibility tag here. I'm going to take the visibility down to 0. So it's actually still there. We can just see completely through it. All right. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to grab a couple spheres. Let's get to where we can see this. Make these a little bit bigger. Do something like that. Go into another view. Just want to get this down on the floor of the room. Let's look at it from this view. Something up like that. And let's just go ahead and duplicate these spheres. So we'll duplicate this one and we'll move it over to here. We'll duplicate it one more time. We'll move this one over to here. We've got the 3 spheres here. Let's go ahead and create a couple materials. We'll double click here. And we want to turn the color off. And let's turn the luminance on. And let's have one that's red. And we'll just control drag to duplicate these. Red. Let's have one that's blue. And we'll have another one that is, let's say, magenta. And we'll drop these on our spheres. All right. So there we go. Well, let's get up in here where we can see what's happening. And let's go ahead and just render this and see what we have right now. So if we render the view, we have these 3 spheres that are not being affected by light at all because they are luminant right now. Now we could come over here and we could drop a light into the scene. And if we render again, you can see that the light is having no effect on the spheres, but it is having an effect on the room. So let me go ahead and turn that light off. Let's go back over here to our render settings. Let's turn the global illumination on now. Let's see what we have. I'm going to go ahead and render this one to the picture viewer. And you can see we have something else taking place. Now you can see we have something completely different. The global illumination is working and it's hitting these spheres and it's actually bouncing off the spheres and back on to the room, the floor, and you can see we're getting some spill. So we're getting these shades of red here and these shades of blue and these shades of magenta that are spilling over onto the floor. Now we can go ahead and turn our light back on if we want. Maybe turn that down a little bit. Something like that. Let's render that. Now you can see what we have. The light is still affecting the room, and we're getting a little bit of spill here, but it's hard to see. If we go into the materials themselves, if we go down to illumination, we have our GI strength here. So if we take these up to, let's say 300 and maybe 300. Let's do that for each one of them. Maybe this one 600, 600. And for the magenta one, let's take that to 1,000. Let's go ahead and render. You can see we're getting a lot more here now that we've turned the strength of the global illumination up. Not only is it reflecting on the floor, but it's reflecting up on the ceiling and a little bit over here on the sides. And if we turn this light off, we'll probably get a really nice look here. Let's re-render that again. And that's starting to look really nice. Let me go ahead and move this blue sphere back a little bit, maybe in the corner. See what that looks like. Okay, now in addition to changing these strengths on the individual objects here, we can also play around with some different parameters in the global illumination setting itself. So we can go to the General tab and we can use these default preset, or we can choose some of these other ones, and you're going to get very different results based on the ones that you choose here. But these are global parameters, so anything that you change here is going to be a global change to your scene. Let's go ahead and change this to, from default, let's go ahead and change this to interior high and see what we get there. Do another render. Okay, so that was the one before. Not much change in that. Let's go ahead and choose exterior physical sky, exterior preview. Let's try the exterior preview. See what we get there. Okay, we're getting a lot of chunky looking maps here, so that's not going to look really good. Let's go back over here and change this from radiosity map to light mapping. See how that looks. Okay, same kind of a thing. Let's go back over to the interior preview. Let's change this to light mapping again. Let's change the maximum depth from 16 to 128. And the samples from low to medium. It'll take a little bit longer, but now we get a much smoother result. Okay, so that's a brief look at global illumination. You can spend a lot of time on global illumination. It's a very complicated process, but Cinema 4D makes it pretty easy to start using it right out of the box.